It's lesson 28, graphing using three-part tables. So we're taking what we learned last Friday with functions. Remember, we put stuff into the machine. Something has to pop out, right? And only one thing pops out, right? Right? Remember that whole thing? We put ingredients for cake inside. It might be a lot of ingredients. We might have 3 or 4 different ingredients. So we put the number 4 in the machine, and then we need to pop out. It should pop out with just cake, right? And we said it shouldn't pop out with cake and, was it nails, right, for this period? So cake and nails, right? That would not function correctly, so it's not a function. So all the equations we use in math are functions, and so because it's objective, there's only one answer. So anytime we put a number into the machine, we get one number out. Okay. What letter represents the inputs from Friday? X's, right? What number represents the outputs?
Y.
Y, okay. So, there's one output for every input. We made those tables. So today we're going to build upon that table. These are steps, and I'll show you how to do it. And the goal is to graph it, okay? So, number 1. Got f of x is equal to x plus 1. So the first thing you want to do is you write down this equation over here. It's already written down though, okay? So we're going to leave that alone. And we're going to put the same inputs in all day. The 3 inputs we're going to put in today are going to be -2, 0, and 2. But in any machine you could put any input you want, okay? But for today's purposes, to make it easy for math and to understand the concept, we're putting the same 3 inputs, -2, 0, and 2. What are the 3 inputs? Good. Those are the same numbers on all the problems today, okay? So then after you put that in, you go to your table, and whenever we see the letter X, we're going to put the number in for that, okay? So we're going to rewrite this. We're going to write Y is equal to, and we see X here. So instead of X, we're going to put this number here, -2. So put -2 into its own parentheses plus 1. Okay, and then we're going to solve it. What's -2 plus 1? It's going to be equal to -1. So Y is equal to -1. So then after you do that, you put our X is -2 and our Y is -1. And this becomes a coordinate we're going to graph with, okay? Next one is 0. Y is equal to 0 plus 1. Putting 0 in parentheses. 0 plus 1 is 1, so Y is equal to 1. So whenever we put the input of 0 into our machine, we get 1 as an output. Okay. Next one, number 2. So Y is equal to 2 in its own parentheses plus 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So Y is equal to 3. So whenever we put 2 into our machine, we get 3 as our output. Does that make sense so far? Yes? Okay. So there's only one output every time. So eyes up here. I'll give you plenty of time to write. So then you're going to go to your graph, and we're going to draw a graph. Okay. You have to draw your X and Y axes sometimes. So this is our X axis and our Y axis. And we'll put some arrows at the end here. And we talked about how to plot points last week, so we already know how to do that. So we just take these points, and we're going to plot the points. Okay, so we got -2, -1. So we're going to go to -2, -1. We're going to plot a point here. We're going to go to 0, 1. So we go 0, 1, up. And then we have 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, up. And we got a point here. Now, what I'm noticing now as a math student is... Oh, that's not right. I did that wrong. Something's wrong here. Oh, 2, 3. Right here. What I'm noticing as a math student now is all these points are in a line, right? Do y'all see that it's in a line? So we just draw it like it's in a line. So we take our straight edge, and we're going to draw a nice straight line. And draw some arrows at the end. And that's number 1, okay? That's it. That's the whole goal. Okay, so what this graph shows us, the reason why we draw graphs is so we could see what the relationship is between the inputs and the output, right? So if I put numbers in, there's going to be one output, right? And it seems to be pretty consistent. It doesn't change all of a sudden, and sometimes numbers do change. But since it's consistent, it's always going to be plus 1. This graph is showing that if you put a number, it's always going to be 1 higher than the last number. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so watch me do number 2. Number 2, same thing. Starting off, this section here at the top center of the graph will be left blank on some of the examples, so then you would just write this whole equation in here. Since it's already done, we just leave it alone. Okay? Then we're going to pick the same inputs. The same inputs are negative 2, 0, and 2. Those are the ingredients we put into the machine. Then we're going to input the ingredients into our function. So y is equal to 3, x in this case is negative 2, plus 4. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus 4. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. So y is equal to negative 2. So then we would go here, x, when x is negative 2, y is equal to negative 2. Okay? Then we're going to put 0 in. Y is equal to 3 times 0 plus 4. Okay? 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. So y is equal to 4 in this case. So we're going to put 0 in and 4 as our output. Okay? So that means whenever we put 0 as an ingredient, we get one output of 4. Next one, 2. Y is equal to 3 times 2 plus 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. So y is equal to 10 when we put that input in. So whenever we put 2 in, we get 10 as our output. Does that make sense so far? Okay, now we're going to draw our graph. Drawing my x-axis, y-axis, and we'll draw some arrows at the end for these axes. Okay, and we plot our points, negative 2, so we go to negative 2, down negative 2, plot a point here. Then we go to 0, 4, so we go 0 and then up 4. That's going to be our point right here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep. And then we got 2, 10. Hopefully I've made enough space. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh man, I didn't make enough space. 9, 8, 9, 10. Someplace up here. So, just like number 1, I know that this is going to be a line, so, and we'll talk about that. So, our point should be way up here actually. We're drawing our straight line with a straight edge, and then we plot our arrows. And that's it, okay? And what this graph is showing us is a picture of what the numbers are doing, what the relationship is. So every time we have one number, it looks like the graph will go up quite a bit, okay? And that's it, all right? You're all dazed and confused, or dazed at least. Happy Monday, welcome back to school. Yeah? You're all off in La La Land, some of you are like... I know. I'm upset too, believe me. But nonetheless, this is the lesson for today. So this is how we graph. This is one way of graphing, and then we'll look at different ways. But it comes back to the machine. So let's go back to talking 1. Tell the 2's about number 1. 2 tell the 1's about number 2. Ready, set, other. Okay, so the first part, you see how my table is empty right now? What do I need to do? First is make a table. So what I would do is the following. Is if your iPad is blank. There's a square function, okay? So what you could do is this. Make a square on your iPad like this. A rectangle. You see that? And then draw a couple of lines across. Then draw a couple vertical lines, and it should look like that, okay? In the meantime, I'll just use the pre-made ones that I have. Okay, it doesn't have to look perfect. Okay, so, what goes in the top middle? Okay, then turn it off and on. Okay, I've talked about that. So, f of x, you're going to write f of x is equal to 2x minus 1. Here, okay? What are my inputs always today? What are my inputs? What are the ingredients we're always using for our functions? Good. -2, 0, and 2. Can we use different ingredients in the future? Yeah, we can. Okay, we can use anything, and that it all depends on what problem you're doing. But for now, to make it easier, we're just going to use the same ingredients. Okay, -2. So let's put in -2. So we're going to put -2 into f of x. So we got f of x, or f of -2, is equal to 2 times -2 minus 1. What's 2 times -2? Shh. What's 2 times -2? -4 minus 1. -4 minus 1 is -5. So if I were to put -2 into my machine, I get -5 out. Okay? You know what might be a good idea is if you work out these problems on your paper. Okay? Let's do that. So we'll graph on the iPad. So put the iPads down or just click them off for a moment. Let's just do the next one together. 0. Okay? If I put in 0, f of 0 is going to be 2 times 0, minus 1. If I put 0 into my machine, 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 is -1. That's my answer for here. So if I put 0 into my machine, I get -1 as an answer. Okay? Next one, 2. F of 2 is equal to 2 times 2 minus 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. So we got 2, 3 as the outputs here, okay? So these ordered pairs now could be used as points on the graph, right? The first ones were our inputs, those were our ingredients, and then each of these is my output or the product, right? You all got that? So you would make a 3-column table. So I'll give you a moment to catch up. So why don't you write this down, and then we'll graph together. Graph now that we have the ordered pair. So we're going to take our x and y axis. So on your iPads now you can find the graph paper and draw this, okay? There's some graph paper that's pre-made on your iPads, so with the x and y axis. So I'm drawing my x and y axes, and I'm plotting my points. So we got -2, -5, so we got -2, -5, counting, and we're going to plot a point here. 0, -1, plot a point here. 2, 3, 1, 2, up 3, here. At this point, I want to check it's a line. Okay. So I draw a line. And that's it. Number 4. Okay, number 4. First step, we got 1/2 x plus 4. We're putting this into the top center here, so we're going to put y is equal to 1/2 x plus 4. Let's do this on a separate sheet of paper, or on in your notes, I mean. Okay. What are our ingredients like normal? What are the inputs? -2, 0, and 2. Thank you. Okay, so we got y is equal to 1/2 x. In this case, it's going to be -2. Plus 4. Okay, let's think about this. What's 1/2 times -2? Or what's 1/2 of -2? What's 1/2 of 2? If you had $2, how much is 1/2? Yep.
-1.
-1. Good. So it's $1 or -1. So we got -1 plus 4. What's -1 plus 4? 3. Good. So 3 is the first output. So if I were to put -2 in, we get 3 as our output. Okay, next one, 0. Y is equal to 1/2 times 0 plus 4. Okay, 1/2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is what? 4. That means if I put the input of 0, I get an output of 4. Okay? Last one, 2. What happens if I put in a 2? What happens? We got y is equal to 1/2 times 2 plus 4. So it's going to be an input of 2 gets an output of 5. Okay, there's only one output. Okay, now you're showing me your graphs. Go. If you got to put your points in, get a graph for x and y axes. We got negative 2, 3, right? 0, 4, and 2, 5. You're noticing they're all in a line. Drawing our line, and of course arrows at the end, okay? And that's it. So homework is just going to be a repetition of this. I mean, these take a little bit of time, so we got a few of these problems and I have a few of the ones from before. So as of now, this will conclude this lesson.